here to talk about chronic resiliency through chronic pain. I've tried over 75 different treatments of different types, and I'm just going to go through them. My intention today is to help someone, at least one person, and I'm happy if it's just one person. I made a lot of mistakes not having support groups, not having proper diagnosis. We've probably made a lot of the same mistakes, but maybe I made someone that you haven't tried yet, and I'd like to help you avoid that. So that's where I'm at. Let's see. No, not today. You have a headache? Okay. I have a headache too. My pain journey from wheelchair to walking to running a marathon, which is certainly not something I endorse and recommend for everyone with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but because of my personal journey, that was something I felt I needed to do as part of my healing. I started out as a musician. I was a professional musician on stages since I was 5 years old, completely undiagnosed and just told, oh, she's clumsy, oh, she's unathletic, oh, I was just always made to feel, and this isn't a reflection on my family, it was just back then, things just weren't getting diagnosed. Things like Ehlers-Danlos weren't on the radar. So it just felt like I was always the problem child, and it really takes a hit on your self-esteem. So I created this character called CCG, Pop Superhero Cookie Cutter Girl, and she was breaking the glass ceiling, breaking the mold of women, and I was doing really well, had just gotten into Rolling Stone, won the Billboard Song Contest, doing really well, and then life happened. This talk is mostly about how life happens to all of us. For me, these are my traumas, but you could have a divorce. You could lose a job that you've had your whole life. One of our good friends, Krista, her house burned down last year and she lost her house. Any major life change, a death of someone close to you, can lead you back to say, oh, life happened, now what do I do? So when I'm saying stage accident or terrorist attack, you think whatever life trauma happened to you and insert it there. After I had finally spent 6 years after the stage accident going from wheelchair to walking again, undiagnosed brain injury, undiagnosed spinal cord injury, undiagnosed holes in my inner ear, the journey, the lesson there is that I gave up and had to restart again several times. And if you know your symptoms and you know you're not being heard, don't give up. I don't care if that's the top surgeon in the country, the top specialist for that area. If you know there's still something wrong, you know your truth. Just keep fighting and talking and speaking until somebody listens to you and figures out what's wrong. Because just because doctors are human beings, just because that doctor has been credited with being the best, maybe you have, in my case, I was missing liver enzymes. I wasn't able to digest most of the medications they put me on. They didn't know that. They never tested me. I finally figured out through support groups and conferences like this that there were tests you could do through like uscript.com, where you can test your liver enzymes yourself. It's even covered by insurance. So I highly recommend that for anyone taking any medication. Get tested to see if you can metabolize them. 6 years, back to my story after getting out of the wheelchair, getting off the cane in 2012, it was the summer. Only mere months later, I'm around the corner from where I live, and the Boston Marathon bombing happens, and I only knew what was wrong with me because I'd already had a previous brain injury, and I had all the same symptoms all over again. And yet, when I went to the ER, they put anxiety on and they diagnosed me with absolutely nothing. I couldn't lift my legs, I couldn't sit down, I walked like a drunk and was vomiting constantly and hearing underwater. We have a lot of trouble with the invisible illnesses like Dysautonomia, Ehlers-Danlos, Chiari. We have a lot of trouble getting credibility. So even the second time around, when I had so much education through great patients like you and the doctors talking here, I still just got diagnosed with anxiety. So you have to fight for yourself. I wasn't formally diagnosed until the following year when Googling and going to support groups, talking to people, I learned about blast force trauma causing brain injury, and that's when I figured out that you don't have to fall onto the ground or get knocked into the head. There's another way to incur brain injury. Didn't know, so anyone who's thinks that that might be their issue, there's another avenue to look down. It was followed by all kinds of therapies. I've tried over at least 70 different pain therapies, and I'm going to get into them. What I would like to do, since we're so tight for time, is no questions at the end. Whenever I leave something unanswered, just raise your hand and go, I want to learn more about that therapy, and we will stop right there and learn more about that therapy. This is what I'm doing right now, briefly advocating for organizations that help my conditions, like the Ehlers-Danlos Society and the Dysautonomia Network. For me, that really helps me feel like I have a purpose, and I'm not just making mistakes to, bring myself down. It helps bring me back up to know, oh, somebody else is going to learn something from this. I was just talking about you, Christopher.
You said you were running late, and then I was sitting out there, and then I realized you weren't there anymore. I'm like, oh.
I was just talking about you.
I was early, and now I'm late.
How trauma can happen in any form, and you still go through all the stages of grief. It doesn't have to be a stage accident or a terrorist attack. You could lose your home, or your partner, or your job, and it's the same amount of trauma in your mind. This is the top 10 life stressors, and people don't realize that they have to cut themselves a little slack. You're going through something heavy.
So much more fatigue and pain.
Yes, you have all your regular things, and then life happened. So the Boston Marathon bombing happens, life happens again. I thought I was a musician. That was what I'd done since I was 5. That's my life, and then the stage accident happens. Life happens. You have to go through the stages of grief, is what I found. I thought that after training to do this job for my whole life, that I should be able to just get up, pick myself up, and within the year, just be better and reinvent myself. And I failed. Felt horrible about myself. And it's just not realistic. Your body spent a lifetime getting into the condition it's in, and now you think you should be able to fix it in the year? That's not realistic. And without support groups, which I wasn't joining then, without getting feedback from other patients, I had no idea what realistic goals were. I didn't know about all the different types of physical therapy, mental health therapy, medications and supplements, medical devices, medical treatments, and advocacy opportunities, because I was just winging it. And don't wing it. I've wasted so much time and caused myself so much pain failing to meet goals that were unrealistic, that I should never have set for myself in the first place, because they were too high. They were unobtainable goals. Physical therapy. I think everybody's too familiar with physical therapy. The only problem we have is insurance doesn't cover as much of it we want a year. But we know what it is, so we're just going to skip that. Cardiovascular exercises. When I was in a wheelchair, these were all out of my reach because I was setting my goals too high. I thought, I want to be able to walk across the room by the end of the week. I want to be able to climb the stairs by the end of the month. I was not assigned a physical therapist and just thought that was realistic. And it wasn't. And I ended up falling on the stairs, hurting myself, making all kinds of mistakes. Don't wing it. Don't guess. That's why people spend 12 years in school becoming a specialist or more. For me, it started just standing in front of the wheelchair. Just a minute was all I could handle, and then sit back down, and you wouldn't think that would do much. It does plenty. You do that for a week and you'll be at 2 minutes next week or the week after that. It's slow and steady wins the race. And you have to celebrate the little things too. I was only waiting to celebrate when I climbed the stairs and could get to the bathroom without having the smelly porta potty by the couch downstairs. That was my goal, and I wasn't going to celebrate till I reached it. Wrong, wrong, wrong. I think you should celebrate every day. For people with chronic conditions, it feels like a marathon. Every day feels like, oh my God, I finished. I cannot believe it. I cannot flop into the bed fast enough with an ice pack and soft blanket and whatever. You really, your mind loves to celebrate. Your mind wants to congratulate you. Just do it. It doesn't matter if it's a cookie or petting your dog or listening to your favorite song. Find a way to congratulate yourself. Or maybe you cumulatively give yourself a gold star and go, when I get 10 gold stars, I'm going to go shop and get myself a new blouse or whatever. But make sure that you reward yourself. Occupational therapy. we've touched on that a little bit this weekend. That was huge in helping me to change how I think, that you don't say, I can't do that, because it felt like in the wheelchair, after being a walking individual, I can't everything. It just felt like I can't. I said it all the time. I was wrong. It's that I can't do it yet, because nobody showed me how to do it differently. I'd never heard of occupational therapy. It changed my life. So definitely look into that if you're saying I can't. Maybe occupational therapy is the answer. Ocular therapy, never heard of that either. Suddenly I found a place in Massachusetts that does physical therapy just for your eyes. When you have nystagmus, when you have dizziness, when you have vertigo, ocular therapy can help. If you have a brain injury or something that affects the spinal cord like dysautonomia, maybe ocular therapy is right for you. It does get worse before it gets better. I warn you that it can cause headaches, can cause nausea, but when you come out the other side, suddenly your nystagmus is gone. Instead of having double vision, it's single. It's worth it. Vestibular therapy, never heard of that either. That is for balance. If you have balance issues when you're walking, when I started, I could not just walk a straight line and turn a little bit. I would automatically fall to that side. So vestibular therapy fixed that. I can't say enough good things about it. The next type of therapy is mental health therapy. We all know about traditional mental health therapy, where we go in and whine about our boss or our partner or whatever. It's fun, and it can be very, very helpful. But that, for me, was the end of my mental health therapy knowledge. I didn't know about cognitive behavioral therapy, where you change your attitude and stop saying I can't, and I always this, and I never that, and catastrophizing, they call that. Stop catastrophizing, because it actually digs in the train tracks, the neural pathways in your brain, so that every time you see somebody going for a run or going skiing, whatever it is you like to do before life happened to you, you get angry if that's where your train track leads you. You get jealous if that's where your train track leads you. And cognitive behavioral therapy makes you aware that you have a train track and it's leading you on a negative path, and helps you write new train tracks down to a better path, because there is plasticity in the brain and you can rewrite the neural pathways. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. You can change your brain. I had no idea. Cognitive processing therapy is the one I'm still using. That's my personal favorite. Again, I'd never heard of it. Cognitive processing therapy, CPT, is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy, but you work on the specific trauma of losing your home, losing your partner, whatever it was that happened to you, an accident, a fall, an injury, an illness. You work on it and you find out what about it was the most triggering, that you've had, your brain has held on to this, and so you identify what your triggers are so that you learn coping skills and can actually conquer the things that are making you frustrated, angry, or upset, and alter and possibly end your mood swings. And that was life-changing for me, to feel I'm not hopeless, I'm not helpless. Through CPT, I can figure out what's making me anxious or angry each day or each week, and actually work toward conquering it. Support groups, I think we know a lot about those, so we don't have to talk too long. And specialty therapies like biofeedback and EMDR, which many people find extremely helpful, and it's covered by insurance, but they're lesser used therapies. Medications, they are advertised to us on TV every day, sadly, so we all know far too much about medications. If there's any questions about supplements or digestive aids, allergy meds, I think that I lean much more toward the supplements. Having had the testing for the liver enzymes that I recommend to everybody through uscript.com was the one that I went to, but there are several companies. I was not, the medications were harming more than helping me, and I had no idea, because hospitals don't test you for metabolism of medications. If you're going to take a drug, I just highly recommend you ask to be tested to see if you can actually metabolize the drug first, or if it's going to hurt you. One of them sent me into anaphylaxis, and that was my wake-up call that maybe you should look at supplements more than just medications. Medical devices and prescriptions. He is one of my medical devices, so I put him up there.
I wasn't just saying the dog, but I don't think enough people talk about medical devices and how much they can help.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you don't have to think of it as a whole life. You know, maybe you use this now, but that doesn't mean that could be a transitional phase. It doesn't. I think that the brain has a lot of plasticity.
This
is a tool.
I use it to be more of myself.
And people, we had a hard time, my partner and I, when I was in a wheelchair, because I could, after a year of working, I could stand up from the chair and walk to the bathroom in a public place, and people would stare. He would get self-conscious, I would get self-conscious, and people would judge you like, oh, there's a faker. Well, she's sitting in that for the 4-hour concert, but now she's...
You know what? I don't care. But see, I don't care.
I do care,
well,
but
I know we should all get to the point where we don't care.
But I do it more, and I try and get more pictures with me using my mobility aids so that it gets more accepted, and I refuse to feel bad if I'm in my chair and I get up for something. I'm not going to feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm not doing it.
And thank you. Because the more you guys do that, the more people see it, and it becomes more familiar to them that, oh, not everybody in a wheelchair can't stand.
I think I come from the, a lot of you were, you were once normal. I was never normal because I have CP. So I was in and out of a wheelchair. So when I had to start using it more, I grieved when I had to go from manual to power. I had a grieving process then, but I had to learn very early that your adapted devices, and I tell people this when they go, oh, I have to use a wheelchair. Your adapted devices help you be you.
And anything that increases your independence is going to, back to cognitive processing and cognitive behavioral therapy, it's going to improve your mood, it's going to increase your self-confidence, your self-worth. So we can't let other people's version and vision of us be our vision of us. For me, this was a huge step forward. For somebody who's walking and healthy, they might feel pity and think that's a step backward for you and have no idea it's a step forward. You do you and celebrate your victories. Braces for people with motility issues, connective tissue issues. I counted them up before I got here on the car trip. 50 braces that I can wear at different times. Finger splints, wrist splints. I have compression for my arms. I have Lyme disease, so I have these burning patches that feel like horrible burns. Clothing hurts. Anybody just touching you hurts. But I just realized this past month I put a compression sleeve on, and within a couple of days it went away. And I had suffered with that all year. No doctor knows why it works, but try compression sleeves if nothing else has worked for you. It helps a lot with Raynaud's as well. I also have them on these. I just wear them constantly. They're the same that's in a runner store, a sports store. They're what people wear on planes. But I just wear them all the time because I have more feeling in my feet when I wear them and less cramps when I lie down. So just try what works for you. And maybe it can replace a medication. Maybe you can take less of a medication with one of these. Orthotics in the shoes we all know about. I wish somebody had told me when I was bedbound looking at the ceiling about prism glasses.
Yeah, those are cool.
That if you don't know, that will make you stop staring at the ceiling and be able to see the television or your loved ones in the room. But if nobody tells you, I don't know why they don't tell you, it's ridiculous. Hearing aids and mouth guards. People kind of forget what's happening when they go to sleep, but half my bottom teeth are missing because I ate them. And apparently that causes headaches, and with they're just gone now, and insurance will not buy them back for me.
Right?
So even though the root's exposed, it's very painful. The mouth guard stops it, and allegedly you're with connective tissue disorder, you're just loosening that jaw joint all night long and really flexing and straining the muscles so that you're causing yourself so much pain. Even a store-bought device is better than no device at all. Mouth guards are something easy to look into. Nerve stimulators we've talked about. Light therapies. I'm not sure why we don't get those other than insurance. When I watch vet shows, animal shows on TV, the first thing they do when an animal has pain, or every time they have surgery, they're with the ultrasound and they're with the red light therapy to help them heal. Never see this on humans anymore. My doctors, not one has written prescriptions for that, but the animals get it automatically. And I assume it's just insurance in the way. Ultrasound, virtual reality they now have as a way to try to rewrite the neural pathways. I went to a conference and you can buy a VR device for a few $100s and play games on it to try to retrain your brain. Something to look into. It's not covered by insurance yet, but you never know. Weighted blankets are going along the line of compression gear. I have not yet tried weighted blankets, but I'm open to hearing back from people about them because I don't know what weight to get. I don't know what works and what hasn't worked for people.
Personal preference.
For me, I've heard a lot of people swear by them, but for me, literally just picking one up to walk across the room with it is instant pain.
Oh, trying to carry it.
Trying to actually carry it.
No,
I can't move it off of me or move it away.
The shoulders are the weakest joints in the whole body, and when we carry, the best advice anybody ever gave me, a PT, was never do anything like this. Don't open a door, don't carry anything, don't do the dishes, don't do anything. Always be like this, and that was life-changing. Never do anything at extension.
So you want to know if a weighted blanket works. How much does your service dog weigh?
5 pounds.
Oh, see, my cat weighs 15.
Oh, I know.
And
no, he
I
was on the
sleep
mark
better
because the
when
doctor
she's
said
on.
5 pounds or less. That's what you're
Yeah.
allowed to carry. So that was the
So-
only reason he's that small.
Yeah, 15 pounds is standard for a weighted blanket, it seems like, and I know I sleep better with
Maybe
my cat,
drag
so
it,
I don't
don't
need to
Well, I
carry
can't lift
one.
mine. I
Yeah,
can't lift mine.
drag it.
My husband has to move it for me, and there are times where I've been trapped under it, but not many. I mean, it wasn't like trap, but
Yeah.
but like my arms were so in pain I could not move it.
So that's good to know.
But I sleep so much better.
But they have different weights of 10 and 12 and different, I've read about them. I think it would be good to find some place that had a return policy, like Amazon has a great return policy, and then maybe that's easier. So that's the way to go then. I would say through confirmation, that's the way to go. Hot and cold packs, we sort of take it for granted. They now have, Quell has one that's an ice pack with the massage element that they're marketing. Things to try, combining the two. I have chronic migraines. I have had one since we checked into the hotel, and I've met several people here with mast cell that have been saying the same thing. They just think it's the carpets, fluorescent lights, they're struggling with the migraines. Hot and cold packs. I just can't say enough good things. I went back to the room last night. He got a big bag of ice, and nothing is going to make you pain-free, but it took it down from, I think I need to go to the ER, to, okay, I can handle this pain in the dark in the hotel room and don't have to go to the ER because I'm putting ice right there. But until I joined a support group, no neurologist said put ice right there. I don't know why, but they just didn't. So that's what you do for headaches.
Because unless they suffer with it, they don't think about
They
it.
just have no
You should
idea.
definitely let them know. No, medical grade ice packs though, not an
Oh,
ice
yeah.
pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like ones that will
They
last
were
an hour.
expensive. Like I have one that's $50
They last
that
a
covers
long
the upper
time.
back, and then it's just like but it lasts forever. I've had it
Right.
for 12 years now. That was a great $50 investment.
Well, and they've
But I
got the
hesitated
rice-
because it was expensive.
They've got the rice ones now that are hot
For
and
heat,
cold
yeah.
fat. Well,
You
you
can
can
put
do
them in
it
the
cold
freezer.
too, because I keep mine in the freezer for my shoulders.
All right, let's move on. The point of the service dog, studies have shown that every time you just look at a picture of your child or your dog, you get a release of oxytocin. And when you're touching them, you get more. So it's like a hit of a drug that if you could push that little painkiller, if you were in the hospital and hit your little pain button, that's what I'm doing. Every time I touch the dog, I'm frustrated, I'm anxious, I may not even be aware of it. I'm calming myself and getting a little hit of oxytocin. It's actually a pain relief drug, and people don't always realize that, yeah, he's an actual drug and a piece of medical equipment. These are different types of massages that I've tried. They all do different things. They are all different levels of pain, and it's just finding somebody who's certified in that style of massage. You can't just go to any masseuse and say, I want craniosacral therapy or I want myofascial release. You have to find someone who is trained for that. But it's very much worth it. I have at least one a month done because people with connective tissue disorder tend to have trouble with lymph drainage. So I go in and just drain the lymph nodes in my head, drain the neck, just make sure it's all flowing, and you will see it swell up and get puffy. You will know whether that is part of your problem. And it makes a big difference when your lymph system isn't working properly and somebody helps you manually to fix it. You will be going back and paying out of pocket. Injections. We've probably all tried some of these: dry needling, acupuncture, Botox, lidocaine, cortisone, trigger point. With connective tissue disorder, there is a lot of controversy about getting lots of injections every 6 weeks or 3 months because of the collagen damage that we already have. I'm not recommending, endorsing, or contraindicating them. That's just what's available. I've tried them all. If you have any questions about how something felt or how I reacted. Hot and cold water therapies, hypothermia, where they heat your body up to mild fever like 102. When they're trying to cure Lyme disease, they heat them up to 107.
Wow.
Yeah, trying to kill everything, sort of like chemotherapy does. But that's contraindicated for people who have connective tissue disorder or brain injury. So I was not a qualifier.
Kill me with the thoughts. Oh.
So just to know that they will accept you because it's $15,000 to $20,000 for massive hypothermia. They will accept you. But when I did my research, I found out connective tissue disorder and brain injury, you can get brain injury from extreme, the 107 hyperthermia. So that's up to you to make your decision. Cryotherapy makes you feel great and you look fabulous. People do it before their wedding photos, but it's cold. It reduces inflammation. Maybe if you have a place that is a walk-in spa-like center, it's like $50-$60. If you had a migraine, it might get rid of it. I have a great acupuncturist that treats me on whatever's going on that day, and she has gotten rid of a migraine within 2 hours because she knew exactly what needles to put and where to put them. But you have to find somebody with specific training like that. Hydrotherapy, saunas, hot tubs, Epsom salt detox baths. If you haven't added that to your routine, that seems to be the one thing that helps 100% of people. Doesn't cure anything, but it'll reduce it by 10 to 20%. Detoxing is a big part of my life. Saline coffee enemas. Coffee enemas raise your glutathione by 600% or something. I do one a week. It just is not for everybody, but it's something to try. I caution people about enemas every day because you can weaken the natural muscles aren't getting their workout, doing what they're supposed to do in the colon and the rectum. So it's not something I would overdo, but I definitely get benefit from it once a week. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy helped me more than anything. I could not speak at an average speed. I could not walk. I looked like a drunk when I was walking, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy, HBOT, heals tissue. And it's only covered by insurance for burn victims or limb loss, diabetic neuropathy, but it's only about $100 to $150 for a 1 to 1.5 hour session, and I think most people would feel something after one session. You will definitely see the difference in reduced inflammation in your face after one session. And I had 40, and the difference was I volunteered for a clinical trial, so I got that paid for in New Orleans, and it was night and day taking the neuropsychological tests before and after. I was in the 20th percentile on some things before and high 90s in other. And I aced all the tests afterwards, and she thought I was cheating because she's like, there's no way, how did you improve this much? HBOT, that's how. Ultrasound, laser, UV light, bee stings. I mean, we've all heard of so many of these. If there's something cool that I haven't added, every time I speak, I'm adding 1 or 2 more things. Tell me what I'm leaving out. Advocacy and volunteering. I personally, this isn't for everyone, but I personally found like it boosted my self-esteem. I was severely depressed about losing my career, rebuilding my career as an actress. I was in over a dozen films and ready to go with I reinvented myself. I'm so proud. And then life happened again with the Boston Marathon bombing, and I'm back in the chair, back with another brain injury. Life happened. And I thought, what am I going to be now? I don't know who I am. I'm not a musician, and now I'm not an actress. What the heck am I? Well, now I'm an advocate. And I think everybody has the opportunity to be a patient advocate on some level, even if it's only for yourself that you're advocating. Somebody has to be on your side, and sometimes you have to be your own hero. That's just the way life is, and the more that we support each other, the less somebody's out there going, I have to be my own hero. Maybe we can just, on your strong days, you do what you can online, you answer some questions, you help somebody out. I just feel like life is too short. You have to do what you can, when you can, for who you can, and when you're chronic, forgive yourself for the rest. I beat myself up on all the questions I didn't get to answer, the emails I didn't get to respond to, and it's very negative and it steals your focus. And I think that we have to retrain the brain to focus and say, well, look at all the people I did help, and what I didn't get to, let it go. Tomorrow is a whole new marathon, and I got to get a good night's sleep so that I can start fresh and answer more emails and do more detox treatments and get it all done. I kind of feel like you need a fresh slate every day. You can't just go, oh, yesterday's marathon, I didn't finish, I'm disappointed. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. You'll spend every day being disappointed in yourself, and you just have to move forward. These are foundations that have my conditions, and now I have to add the Dysautonomia network at the bottom because I've learned so much about it. And dysautonomia is, I can't even get doctors who are specialists in Ehlers-Danlos. I'm not sure there are specialists in dysautonomia alone. It's very underserved in Massachusetts. And the Rare Action Network, we were talking earlier a little bit about EDS is a rare disease, there are Chiari, there are lots of rare diseases. These people are doing great work changing legislation at the state level and the Capitol. They set it all up for you. All you do with Global Genes and Rare Action is get on the email list, and when it's Rare Disease Week, they will say, here are the appointments, who can show up. We did all the work for you. All you have to do is show up and speak for a couple minutes.
In just lobby days, which they rebranded to Rare on the Road.
Rare on the Road, yes, which we went to.
For next week, it'll be for August.
For August, for
Not
the.
Rare on the other.
But they do have multiple programs, and
Rare
they'll
Across
email.
America. It's
Rare
Rare
Across
Across America.
I did the Rare on the Road, and we met so many people. We had fun.
But the
learning.
Rare Across America, it's the same thing. You tell them you want to participate. They set up the meeting for you, and it's in your own hometown with your people.
Right, and I love that they do all the work. You don't have to call senators.
Right. So
you don't have to explain things. You don't have this. Makes me it's a little intimidating for some people to call the senator's office. It makes me so happy that they just send you an email going, here's the time, here's the name, here's the place, and we set up 6 other people to go with you so you're not alone. Well, thank you very much. Seems like you've done everything except tell my story. That's great. So basically the takeaway is that people need to forgive themselves. Once you have major life change or an accident or an illness, a diagnosis, stop saying, I want to be Mary from before my diagnosis, because you can't go backward. You can only go forward. You can only be Mary who has the diagnosis now, because that's life. Life happened to you, and life happens to everybody in some form. So I recommend going through all the stages of grief. You're going to be in denial. You're going to get second opinions. You don't have a rare disease. It's rare. That happens to other people. You didn't have an accident. That's rare. It happens to other people. And go through all the stages of grief until you get to accept. Be mad. Do what you got to do until you get to acceptance. And then stop saying, I can't do that anymore. I can't go there anymore. I'm always stuck home. Catastrophizing is just going to make you depressed and angry, and quite frankly, you're going to have a hard time getting people to hang out with you when you're like that, because you're Debbie Downer. Wah, wah, wah. So just try to change just a few words, maybe 1 word a week, and make can't the first word you delete from your vocabulary. I can't do it. If you have to say can't, say I can't do it yet. but I'm working. That's my goal, is I want to be able to do adaptive skiing or whatever, sitting down, whatever it is that your goal. Start learning to do things differently and start focusing on what you can do. Stop catastrophizing and be conscious and aware of your word choices when you're talking about yourself, because that's my friend. And if she speaks negatively about herself, I'm going to get mad at her, because that's how I would be if any of my friends started talking negatively. If somebody else was talking negatively about you, I'd be mad at them. If you're doing it, then I guess I have to be mad at you. That's the way it is. Once you start learning to do things differently, you can stop being angry at your body. It will be so much more of a team. I think of every limb as a team member, and usually it's the guys on the left side that are giving me the most problem. A lot of people are asymmetrical, and somebody's usually having a tantrum. Somebody's a 2-year-old and pain's running down the arm and they're flipping out. Everybody else has to be a team, stay calm, maybe do a little extra work that day, pull it together, but stop being angry and forgive your body and know that it's a chemistry experiment in motion. Maybe tomorrow you wake up, the left side will be quiet and your right ankle will be screaming, and everybody else will have to cater to that screaming 2-year-old, and that's just the way it is. You have to learn to love the new you, and every time you get a new diagnosis, maybe you have to step and repeat through all that again, because now you're a new person all over again, and you have a new thing that could throw you into a tailspin and make you angry, and you have to stop and go, wait, I just got a Chiara diagnosis, now I have to forgive myself for all the bad things that I said until I got that diagnosis, because I didn't know I had that wrong with me, and I was mean to myself, and now I have to learn to forgive all that and move forward again. It's really, I think, stagnant water, they tell you never drink still water because it's poisonous. It's got overgrown with unhealthy things, and maybe a stagnant body, a stagnant brain is the same thing. That the more you can move the way you think about yourself, the more positive you can adapt new train tracks and create plasticity in your brain to a more positive view of yourself, a more positive view of your conditions. And for me, advocacy and going to these events, it's like my holiday. Everybody else has their Christmas and Easter and Halloween and stuff, but these are my holidays, and this is what I look forward to. So that's that.